Hello, 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 hello. It is Thursday. It is Thursday, end of the day, end of the stream. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the next personal feedback session. We have done the last one, I think, 3 weeks ago. So it's about time to do the next one. Usually, I do them every second week, but last week I didn't have the time for it. So which is why we're going to do it now. Welcome, Nebulous. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday and your week so far. Maybe you're excited for the weekend. Maybe maybe you have something cool planned. Yeah. So personal feedback session is what we're going to do today. Let me pull up the pieces and then we can go straight into it. I don't want to waste any time because the more time we have, what is it? The more time we have for them, the more time we can talk about each one of them. So I don't want to rob a person's time, okay? Because I like to ramble. Lots of sleep planned. Oh, nice. Yeah, I heard. Sometimes I hear from people like they like to sleep a lot, and I always I'm the exact opposite. I hate sleeping because that means that I can't do anything like productive. Although you could argue that sleeping is productive because it recharges your body and you can, if you don't sleep then you can't really be as productive the next day. So you could see it as productive but it doesn't feel like it, which is the annoying part. Welcome, Zachary. Hope you enjoyed your Thursdays ball. There's then then there's no time to waste as Superman flies through floating rings. I don't know what you mean. I'm lost. Hold on. Welcome. Whatever, I'm drunk. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Hold on, where am I? I am in the wrong folder. That's why I am. I already calculated how much time we have for everyone. Okay. Welcome, my retologies. Retologies. Yeah, there it is. Retologies. Hope you had a great Thursday as well. I calculated how much time we have for each one of them. And if we start at in 10 minutes, which I think we can manage, we have 11 minutes for each one. Of course, some people, I think the most somebody has posted is 4. So of course, we have to split it up there. But 11 minutes, I think is pretty good. We have 14 people that have submitted something. Welcome, Andre. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday as well. It's a reference to the greatest video game of all time. Which Sonic? Sonic, or what do you mean? That's the only game that I know with floating rings. I don't think you mean Sonic if you include Superman in your sentence. Andrew, okay. They spelled my username. Well, that's too bad. I think you can change it in your Google account settings or Google Plus settings, whatever. Okay. Yeah, we have 14 people that have submitted something. 11 minutes for each. And I would say let's not waste any time and let's get straight into it. Yeah. Wait, is Photoshop open? It is not, but we probably need it, but we're gonna go into it. Actually, let's go into it right now because we actually need it for the first one. The what is it called again? The liquify tool is way too powerful, okay? It's way too powerful not to use it. Welcome, CDR. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday as well. Hope you had a great weekend. I mean, week. I guess weekend as well. It's been a while, but Okay. Yep. The first piece that has been posted by a little kid is this skull. Let's put it in Photoshop so we can change it. Mitosis Kane, welcome to you as well. one interesting thing that I see right now is this blue um this blue whatever it is, like shine. It looks like subsurface scattering, but in blue. Usually subsurface scattering is red, of course. This looks blue, which is interesting. Maybe it is subsurface scattering and you kind of played around with the settings so that it turned out blue. Maybe you wanted it to be blue, you know? Okay, hold on. Let me see what they wrote and then we can get into there it is. You know, I always like to check if there are any questions posed, except for, you know, what could I do better? If there are any specific questions or not, I like to go through these first before I do anything else. Okay, looking for feedback on accuracy of bone placement. Okay, there's some comments as well. The area below the nose hole seems a bit too strong, too long, stretched at first sight though. Okay. Yep. Yeah, let's begin. I know that my model isn't perfect. I've made it online only. For me, it's only 1 week for do this in your style. Hold on. Challenge, so don't be harsh, okay? I won't, okay? I'll promise. Okay. Could be a blue light. It wouldn't I don't know where the light would have been placed to only act like hit these pieces. Yeah. Okay. Let's begin. Let's not waste any time. Let's begin with the first one. The anatomically correct. What? Okay. So let's check the anatomical correctness of the skull. Let me actually open the other ones as well, at least the side view, so we can look at that as well. Okay. Let's begin. So, yeah, I agree with the comment by Dustin with the length of the teeth, sort of part of the, I guess, you know, the teeth part here, the distance between the teeth and the nose hole. I think one thing that is hard to really measure the length right now is that it is shot from an angle that is a little bit above the skulls, which happens. What happens then is that the nose hole, for example, looks a little bit shorter, but we also have a side view, which can help us there. It's still a little bit hard to see really the length or the distance between different things. But I think one thing that you can definitely say is that the distance here, the distance right here. Oh, let me set it up real quick. Let's use this color. The distance right here is quite long. I think it can be a little bit shorter. I don't really have a good measurement for it, but I think we can look at a real example, the skull, to kind of guess, I guess, how long it should be, or how long it should be. There you go. I think this one's pretty good. I don't know if this is perfectly anatomically correct, but it looks pretty good. It looked pretty, you know, looked pretty real. Can we please only see the image itself? No? I guess I'll just go to here and then say this. Nope. Well, I guess we'll just use another one. Let's go with... I want to have a front view. I think a front view is the easiest one to use. I don't want to buy anything, okay? This one. Let's use this one. Also, it's super small. This one. This one looks it's even smaller. Okay, we're going to use this one. Okay. That's the smallest image that I've ever seen, but we're going to go with it. Wait, maybe we just go through this and then we can see it here. Perfect. Can I open this one? Perfect. Okay, see. Okay, so let's compare the two. Let's see what the differences are. I think the first difference that you can see is the distance here. Of course, that we already said that. One problem could be that this just looks longer because of the angle, but I think it's overall a little bit longer than it needs to be. You can see the distance here as well. It looks quite long. So I think you can do, yeah, the change that we can do to fix that is, I think, a little bit broader than just kind of moving this part here up. I think what we would rather do is move the entirety of the skull a little bit higher. I would like to see a side view as well. I guess we can just go to this one here. Can you please stay on that? Thank you. You can see it's not that long. For this as well, I don't really have a good length. Like I don't really have like a comparable length, or is it like some sort of proportion that I can tell you to say how long it needs to be. But I think if you kind of stick to the length, or if you make the if you kind of orient yourself at the length from the nose hole to the teeth line, you could say, and make this a little bit shorter, you can kind of estimate how long everything overall should be. So making this a little bit shorter by moving the entirety of the jaw, including the teeth, a little bit higher. Basically, all of this can probably be a good way to start. I actually have a skull, but that's a very artistic one. It's not really that realistic. um, yeah, maybe I'll buy one at some point. There it is. Yeah, so that's the first thing. The other thing that kind of jumped out to me is the eye holes. Let me just quickly check. They only okay, perfect. Yeah, the eye holes. The eye holes look fairly small and fairly far apart. Let's look at the real one again. Especially if you look at your own ones, if you kind of feel around your eyes, especially in the middle, what you can feel is that the nose, um, coming from the nose bridge and then going into the inner corner of the eye, it goes quite deep first of all, and also, which means that the nose stays quite narrow. What you can see here right now is that from the nose bridge going to the eye corner, which should be somewhere over here, you know, going in there, you can see it is it gets quite broad right away, and it stays quite shallow. You can see here and somewhere over here. Looking at it from here, you can see it goes quite wide. Look, comparing it to this one here, you can see it is all I think in this image it looks wider than it actually is, or well, the perspective kind of tricks you, in the way that you can see here as well. This here isn't really like a good. Hold on, I don't. It's hard to kind of hold on. There you go. Let me open up my what is it called again? Pen? Nope, that's not it. There it is. Open up my program. There it is. So this line right here, it's not really like a perfect edge. I can feel it when I kind of go over my eye. It's like a small bump, and then it goes into the eye hole. But it's not really like a very clean edge right here. So it basically goes from here and goes sort of smoothly into the eye hole itself. If you look at if you look at yours right now, it looks more like there's like a clean edge right here, and then it goes deeper into it again. Looking at it from the side, it seems that way as well. I could be wrong. Maybe the shadows are because of the shadow. Of course, you can't really see that much there, but that's sort of what it seems like. So I think you can bring the eyes a little bit closer together, and maybe even bring. Actually, no. I think bringing them closer together helps already. Another thing is, I think the eyes themselves might be a little bit small. I think you can make them a little bit bigger. And then the nose hole itself looks, from this angle at least, quite quite round. I think it can be a little bit longer. Looking at the side view, it seems to be longer than maybe you might see. It seems from the front view, but I think it can be a little bit longer, maybe even. Maybe it just seems that way because the teeth part is quite that long. But let's go into the liquify tool real quick and kind of see what we can do here to help out here, or to what we can change to maybe make it look a little bit better. Liquify. Okay, first of all, let's bring the teeth higher. Let me go out here. Okay. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to bring the teeth a little bit higher. So I'm just going to move. First of all, I think I want to move the teeth up here a little bit higher. There you go. Just kind of, yeah, just kind of lessening, I guess, the distance, shortening the distance between the teeth and the nose right here. It looks kind of weird right now because it's so thin. Also, the jaw is quite big now. Let's push that up as well. Maybe bring that up a little bit. We can probably make the jaw also quite wide, especially on skeletons. The jaw corner in the back here is the widest part that you can see. It basically goes like a V from the chin outwards. So you would always see from a front view the sort of edge of the jaw. So we can make that a little bit wider here so we can kind of highlight that or accentuate it. The teeth, actually, they're like two U shapes, you know, like this is the bottom row and then we have another row. And they, you know, if you eat, kind of, they, you know, come together. There you go. So we have the teeth a little bit closer. There you go. And then let's bring, oh, we can maybe even make the nose a little bit longer. We can maybe even bring the nose, if you look at this here, you can see how high the nose hole actually goes. You can see if we kind of compare the height between the bottom edge of the eye hole and the top edge of the nose hole, you can see that the nose hole even goes higher than the bottom edge. Right now, it's kind of below that. It could just be the, what is it? The perspective, but I think I kind of want to make it a little bit longer. I'm just going to move it up a little bit, maybe even move it down a little bit, just like this. And then, of course, by making, we can also make the eye hole a little bit bigger, not only in the middle, maybe also down there, right here. Just make it a little bit bigger. Bring it closer together. I think that will already help. There you go. Another thing that jumps out to me is the back of the head. The back of the head is the widest part. Well, basically, hold on. No, what I mean is the back of the head is quite round. It might not seem that way, but that is because of the bone that we have here around the eye and the cheekbone, which creates this weird sort of S shape going inwards here. The sort of this shape, which you can see, which you can see here as well. This thing. But what follows is, or what is behind that is basically like a round skull that looks somewhat like this. Well, that's not round, but you know what I mean, okay? So we can make the head, the back of the head quite round, which means that this gap right here, what you can see here, right here, this gap is quite big. I think we can kind of minimize this gap by making the back of the head a little bit rounder. Of course, we don't really have that much room to work with here, but maybe we can do something. Let's see. Okay, let's do one or two more changes here and then look at the final result. Yeah, we can't really push it that far, so I guess it is what it is, but at least I wanted to mention that. Okay, there you go. So here's the skull before, after. This is the skull after, changing the eye hole, changing the nose hole, making it a little bit longer, especially, making the eye holes a little bit bigger, also narrowing the bridge, the distance between the eye holes, and then also especially moving the jaw higher and to shorten the distance between the teeth and the bottom of the nose hole, I guess, or the nose hole in general. So this is afterwards, and this is before. There you go. Small changes, as always, can make big differences. And I think this is a little bit closer to this than the original. There you go. Yeah. Biggest takeaway, if it looks like the distance between the nose hole and the teeth might be too long, maybe just push everything, including the lower jaw as well, just a little bit higher. Or, of course, if the teeth look kind of short, then you can just only move the upper row. But, you know, yeah. There you go. Looks kind of like some sort of, I don't know, liquid coming out of his nose. Yeah, that's the first one. Da-da-da. There you go. Let's go to the next one. The next one is by... Who is the next one? Da-da-da-da-da. Off-White. I said off-tea in my head first, but it's Off-White, okay. And they made a body. Purple liquid, exactly. Welcome, James. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Hope you had a great day as well. Maybe even a great week. Maybe even a few great weeks. Yeah, sounds about right. Let's go to the next one. This is the first one that they posted, which is right here. My first torso try. It's not done, but then they followed up with the full version. A little bit further down. Let's see. There it is. Work in progress. Well, it's still work in progress, but let's help out maybe the progress, okay? Let's go into what we can do here. Okay. Quick duplication. There you go. Perfect. Okay. They've been snorting grape juice, exactly, or the brain is flowing out of their out of the nose. Okay, let's begin. So, there are a few things that I always look at when it comes to body proportions, and let's go through these real quick. The first thing that I always look at is the length or the position of the hip or the crotch. Basically, for the full body, you have the upper body, including the head, is 50% of the body, and then the legs are the other half of the body. So the crotch would be in the middle of the two, would be in the middle of the full height. So let's go into that and see if that's true. Another thing that you could measure right now would be the head. Generally, you would have 7 to 7.5 heads, or yeah. Let's say 6.5 to 7.5 heads equal the body height. But I want to go with the half first. If we draw a little line right here. Oh, that's a squiggly line. There you go. Duplicate it. Let's see. That looks pretty good. There you go. It's a little bit longer maybe, but that's not too bad. You could push it down a little bit if you wanted to, but I think that's okay. One thing, what I want to mention afterwards, or what I want to mention now, is what I would look at afterwards. The length of arms I always measure by looking at the where the wrists are. The wrists usually, when you look at bodies, if you just let your arms hang, the wrists basically are on crotch height. So if you just stand there and you lower your arms, you would basically have your hands, or the wrist would be on somewhere right here. Sometimes it's hard to see that when you have like a T pose for a character, for example, or when you have an A pose for a character. What you can do there, for example, is you could draw a line, and then, well, that's you could go in a graphic, or you could maybe even do that in Blender itself. If you have a character, for example, you could either in this program, for example, you could draw a line, then you can transform it, and you could place the anchor point where it rotates around, for example, on the shoulder side, and then you can rotate this line to see if it's long enough. Or you could, of course, in your 3D program, you can also just rotate the arm to see if the arm is long enough. And one more thing to keep in mind is that the upper arm is as long as the lower arm, the forearm. And those are two things that you can keep in mind for arm length, for example. So, yeah. One thing also to keep in mind is that the upper arm may seem shorter, and that is because the shoulder sort of covers part of the upper arm. That's why forearms, for example, oftentimes seem longer than upper arms, just because upper arms are being covered by the shoulder a little bit. But right now, what you can see here is that the wrist is a little bit higher than it maybe should be. You can see that's also the first one. The first thing that sort of jumped out to me when I looked at it. I sort of are the arms maybe a little bit too short? I think we can bring the arms overall a little bit further down, so that the character has a little bit longer arms. There you go. So let's keep that in mind. Yeah, you can. There are a lot of things that you can calculate with different proportions if you compare different proportions. Another thing is the forearm. Two forearms equal the four forearms equal the whole leg. So there you go, and two forearms equal the thigh, and also of course then the femur, I guess you could say. The No, the calves and the thigh, upper legs and lower legs. So four overall and two for each equal the length for the legs. Another thing, I mean, we can look at that as well, but I think half works quite well there. We don't really, I think that's good enough there. Let's look at the shoulder width and head size. Overall for shoulder width, it is maybe different for muscular characters because shoulders or muscular muscles give you more volume, which means they give you more size. In general, the width of the head, three heads next to each other equal. Oh, what? Hello? Oh, okay. I get it. Maybe. There you go. So, three heads equal the shoulder width. So if you would duplicate this and move it over here, there you go. That would be the shoulder width, maybe a little bit thinner. But I think that looks pretty good as well. There you go. Anatomy for sculptors is also nice. Yeah. One thing that sort of jumps out to me for the arms as well, I think the forearms are quite long right now. That could just be because of this cut right here and because the pieces are still individual pieces. The biceps would kind of go a little bit more down maybe if you combine the two. But right now, the forearm looks quite long. Okay. Another thing that I oftentimes see that I think seen in the last one as well is the depth or the length, let's say, of this line right here, where the pecs, the chest muscle goes over to the shoulder muscle. This line right here is quite long right now. And this sort of shape right here is quite deep or quite low. Let's look at a real example real quick. So what we have there, this line is being created because the pecs right here go to the bone that is right here, to the upper arm bone and connect to there. Oops. Right here, okay. There you go. And the shoulder, there you go. The shoulder muscle comes from here from the collarbone and goes down to the to this bone as well, basically like this. So you have an overlap. The shoulder goes over the pec muscle, and that's where this line is being created here because they sort of overlap with each other. And the skin smooths the crease, I guess, a little bit. So if you look at the look at a real example real quick. Bodybuilder, I guess, should work quite well. There you go. Maybe bodybuilder is not the best idea, although we just have to find a good example of somebody just standing. This one, I guess. There you go. You can see how high, looking at the lowest part of the pecs, right here, this line right there, going from here to where this line ends, the outer line of the pecs right here, going into the armpit, how high it goes here, how long it is on both sides. Comparing that to yours currently. Well, we can just use this one. We can see it's quite short. So I think bringing this up just a little bit can also help with the overall proportions a little bit. Makes the pecs look less sort of, I don't know how to explain it. I always look at them like V shapes. So basically like this. Right now they're more like, I don't know, like a bracket turned 90 degrees, maybe. Yeah. mm, let's see. I think the leg muscles look pretty good. We have three main muscles right here, which is good. Let's go into the transformation real quick. Okay, just do these changes, and then we have this one. Wait, did they post? No. Okay, did they? No. Okay, perfect. Liquefy. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to bring the arms a little bit lower. Where's my strength? Do I have strength in here? I guess not. Well, I want to have strength. Pressure. Ooh. Look at that. Perfect. So I want to bring the arms a little bit lower. There you go. And then we can bring the elbow a little bit lower as well. This will look horrible, but bear with me, okay? I got this. Okay, we'll do it with 30. There you go. Make it a little bit longer, so that the arms are roughly, or the wrists are roughly on crotch height, maybe a little bit higher. There you go. Then we can bring this a little bit lower as well, not too much. Perfect. If you kind of look at your elbow, you angle your elbow, for example, what you could see is that it ends roughly on the belly button height. I think the belly button right now is quite low, actually. So we can bring it a little bit higher. Kind of looking at where the belly button is, it's basically between the rib cage and the hips. We can probably bring it a little bit higher. Maybe to roughly over here, maybe. There you go. That looks good. Okay. And then what I want to do is bring this up a little bit. The shoulder right here. There you go. A little bit. Make this, shape this a little bit. Do the same on this side. Okay. There you go. Okay. Small changes, but they can make a big difference. You could maybe talk about the shape of the arms a little bit, but maybe you're refining those still, so I don't want to go into that too much. Another thing that I just quickly see is that generally what you see is that the outer calves here are a little bit rounder, or they have bigger bumps than the inner ones generally. So we can probably bring those out a little bit more as well, so that it looks something more like this. We have this sort of offset 8, you could say. Basically, offset 8, what I mean with that is if you draw an 8 right here, let's say, there you go, and then you transform it. It's not perfectly like this. It is more sort of diagonal, so that you have a big circle, you have the big bump right here, and then we have a small bump a little bit lower. That's how I always remind myself what the shape of the calves look like. There you go. Yeah. Let's look at the before and after. We have the after, and then we have the, oh, hello. We have the before. There you go. The arms a little bit longer. The leg, well, the calves changed just a little bit, but especially here up top, we have changed the pecs just a little bit, brought this line a little bit higher, and also made the arms a little bit longer to kind of, yeah, bring them closer to, you know, a correct anatomy, you could say. I would like to show, oh, well, I can show you him. Can I? Let's see. So, hold on. So, can you see, oh, can you see where the wrist is? And if you kind of, yeah, I can't show it to you because TOS, okay? But, yeah. Generally, I always orientate my wrists on the crotch. Okay, let's go to the next one. There you go. Oh, and one thing that I actually was found surprising is my post talking about the next few things that will come up in the near future. If you haven't seen that post, you know, I made a little YouTube post with an a poll. The three new things coming up. Well, the first one was, well, today's feedback session. The next one is a new video, which will come up maybe tomorrow. I think it'll maybe come over the weekend, maybe even, or at least on Monday. That would be hopefully. um, that's the next thing, with a very cool giveaway that going to be very exciting, and a new model in my on my Gumroad page that you can download for free. So and you know, the poll came out that most people, it was pretty even, but most people were the most excited, or yeah, most excited for the next personal feedback session. So that was actually surprising. I thought maybe the giveaway would be more more exciting, or maybe the character, but it was actually the feedback session. A lot of people probably like getting feedback. Okay, let's get into the next one. The next one is made by Zaro. First piece that has been posted by them is it's quite high. There it is. Trying to make a baby. So after the first attempt at creating a character, or a kid, I think it was like around 14 years, 14 to 16, they tried to make a kid now, a baby. So let's look at these. And then we have another one, which we're going to look at afterwards. So we have, you know, roughly 5 minutes for each. Let's get into this. TOS can't do shit. Well, it can ban me. And that's enough, okay? It doesn't need to do more. Okay, let's get into this. So this definitely looks very much way better than the first one. And it looks like a kid, I would say. I think there are small things that you can change, especially because you said you wanted to make a baby. With a baby, you always have to keep in mind that babies are basically like small humans with a lot of fat. Okay, so babies have a lot of fat, and babies are, you know, short. So those are the two things that sort of play together, and they don't really have that much muscle mass, I guess you could say, but that doesn't really play into it too much, because, you know, if you have a lot of fat, you don't really see the muscles anyway. I guess they still add volume, but okay. So yeah, one thing that you can see here is that the proportions between upper head, and lower, I guess, jaw, whatever, lower part of the head, is better now. You can also see that the cheeks are quite round. One thing that kind of jumps out to me right now is the right here, this part. What it looks like is that the ears look kind of like they're merging into the head right here. But what you usually have is that they do merge into the head, but generally, if you're talking about the part that we can see here in the front, we still have a crease that goes all the way to the front right here. You wouldn't really have a line that, or you wouldn't really have the ear merging into the head right there in the front. So you would, yeah, you can probably just kind of add a crease right here to kind of make that a little bit clearer. There you go. Let's go over the things that regard fat, okay? Nope, it can't. Well, I don't know if I think it can, so that's enough, okay? So, let's look at an example. Examples are always the best thing to look at. Baby, there you go. Look at that baby. That's a huge baby, okay? Let's look at the this one. I think this one's pretty good. Or maybe this one. Okay. So, what I always keep in mind for babies is big eyes in relation to everything else. Small instead of short nose. I always like to, we're gonna get back to that probably in the next one, but I always like to think of nose shapes in at least two. one is a T shape and one is a V shape. The T shape would be, the T shape would be like this, okay, like this, and the V shape would be like this. And I always look at the bottom line right here to kind of determine the shape. So this part here look more like a V or more like a T. That those are two different shapes that I look at when I create noses and when I kind of try to identify the shape of a nose. For babies, what you can oftentimes see is that the nose is quite, first of all, small. It's also quite flat, you could say, or quite short, and it's also a T shape. You can see this one's also quite kind of, I always look at the height difference between the middle of the nose and the nostril. And for babies, it seems like it's very, very flat for most of them. I don't really see any right now that have, like a height difference really. So that's one thing. The T shape for the nose, also a very short nose bridge and also a very short nose tip, like a T shape, let's say. And then the fat everywhere. Well, you can also say the lips are oftentimes very, very thin. You can see here, well, that's quite a small image. The lips are also oftentimes very thin. Here you can see, maybe that's also because of the fat that they have. There you go. Looks quite thin. And then the fat that they have. I think the most prominent fat pads that we have in the image or in a baby's face are this one right here, my favorite one, and then also up here for the eyes. These two I think are the most important ones to really accentuate to get this baby look. That's also why you oftentimes don't really see the eyelid that much for babies because there's so much fat light that's sort of sitting on top of the eyelid. You can see it here, for example. If you look at the eyelid is very, very thin right now. Or the line, the distance between the eye line here, the eyelid line, and the crease line right here is quite short, quite small because there's like a layer of fat right here sitting right there and sort of laying on top of it, which sort of shortens, which brings the crease closer to the eye line, I guess you could say, or the eyelid line. Here right now, I think you have quite a lot of free space right here. It looks quite flat. Maybe you could even bring the eyebrows a little bit lower, and then you could kind of add just a little bit more volume here. I think that would already help. You can then also, that would probably also sort of bring this crease right here a little bit closer to the eyelid, and that would probably be pretty good for that part. Another thing then would be the nose. I think the shape is pretty good already. Maybe you could bring this a little bit lower, but it doesn't really matter too much. I think you can maybe even bring the upper region here a little bit lower, just to kind of make the nose tip a little bit flatter. And then of course, kind of bringing a little bit more volume here into the cheeks would probably also help. You oftentimes have this line going down, very prominent in a lot of babies. This one right there. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. This line right here, these two. You can see them old people, you can see them in babies, because for old people, the skin is kind of sagging, and for kids, they just have a lot of fat there, See? This sort of line right there is oftentimes very, very prominent. Look at him. He doesn't like us. Okay, let's get to another one. Let's not disturb him anymore. Yeah. So I would say these few things. Let's go to the other one real quick. We have 3 minutes left, so I don't wanna. So I think I like this one actually. I think this one, out of all the characters that you've made so far, this one's actually my favorite. That I've seen, I don't know why, I like the overall aesthetic. I think the proportions look pretty good. The hair of course still looks quite a work in progress, but that's not too bad. If you want to just get like hair into kind of without hair, characters oftentimes look weird. So why not add a little bit? One thing that I notice here is the depth of the inner eye corner, the tear duct. One thing to keep in mind for eyes is that you don't really see like holes going sort of even if you kind of move your eyes, kind of open your eyes, you can't really the skin around the eye stays very close to the eyeball, which is why you don't really see like holes on or around the eye. You can see here we have these quite deep, these very deep holes, or maybe even here. You wouldn't really necessarily see those, especially for the tear duct. The tear duct connects straight to or it's like it's basically merged with the eye. It's not like merged. I actually don't know if it's merged, but it looks like it's merged with the eyeball, which is why you have like a smooth transition from the tear duct into the eyeball itself. Which is sort of I think missing right now, this connection. Going to the baby, let's kind of yeah, that's one thing that sort of jumped out to me when it comes to this one right here. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. I like it. Let's go to the baby and sort of change that real quick. The proportions. Oh, Martovnik, welcome, hustler. Hope you have been hustling, and hope you enjoyed your hustle. Hope you enjoyed your week so far. So, first of all, what I want to do is I want to change the nose. Small change, but I want to just kind of bring the nose tip a little bit higher to make it a little bit more like the T shape that we talked about. Another thing that I want to do is I want to change the nose, make it a little bit flatter. I don't know if that makes a big difference, but I just want to test it right now. And then the other thing that I want to do is I want to bring the eyebrows just a little bit lower, and maybe even bring the it's hard to really change the crease right here. Maybe we can push it a little bit lower. That wouldn't really make a huge difference here, but maybe it changes a little bit of the overall look. So just kind of bringing this this crease a little bit closer to the eyelid can probably help a little bit as well. It's not going to make a big difference. Maybe even bring the nose higher. I think I think that's pretty good. The lips, we could argue maybe changing it. It's hard to change the fat in the face. Maybe we can especially make the cheeks a little bit wider a little bit. Doesn't need to be maybe that much, but there you go. Okay, and then of course we can see the crease right here that we can kind of adjust a little bit to make it a little bit clearer that this doesn't merge immediately into the back of the head. And then we can maybe even make this a little bit rounder. There you go. Oh. Look at James with his pathetic white badge. Okay, there you go. And then we have a after, and we also have a before. There you go. It doesn't change too much. I think you were pretty close already, so these are just small details. I think the biggest change will be the fat that you can add on the cheeks and also the above the eye. Other than that, I think you were pretty close already. So a huge improvement over the last one. There you go. Thumbs up. Okay. Oh, one thing that I wanted to note real quick for this one here. I didn't really get the chance to compare the two. But let's see if we can copy and paste. It's hard to do, but generally for when you close your eyes, the lower eyelid doesn't really move. Only really the upper eyelid moves. Let's see if we can do that. There you go. What we can see here is that both move right now. You can see this lower eyelid, kind of looking at it, moves higher, and of course the upper eyelid moves down. What you would have generally is that the lower eyelid stays in place, and only really the upper eyelid moves down. I don't know. Yeah, just another thing to keep in mind. especially for animations. Yeah, let's save this real quick and go to the next one. There you go. Perfect. The next one is by Retopologizer. I think they changed their name. I remember another name, but we have 4 pieces, so this will be interesting. 11 divided by 4. Well, something. Okay, hold on. I could do this. I guess two and a half roughly. So well, almost 3, so 2.75 or whatever minutes per piece. We can maybe focus on the biggest ones. So some, yeah. Okay, let's actually begin with the last one. Let's talk about the readability real quick. I don't have a set value for how many Ngons you can have or you should have in your retopology for heads, but a good rule to have for retopology in general is to have as little or as few Ngons as possible. Ngons, the problem with Ngons is that they can lead to weird deformations. So you would generally place Ngons in places, especially in the face, that is very stretchy, especially if you move your character, or if they're supposed to emote, for example, or, kind of speak, for example. They, Ngons can lead to weird deformations, so generally you would place the Ngons in places that don't really stretch that much or change their shape that much. Like the forehead is a good place, or the cheekbone here. I think this one is okay. This one's also okay. Down here on the jaw as well. Yeah. I've seen some on the nose tip as well, but in general, you want to keep it as you want to reduce the amount of Ngons that you have in your face as much as possible. So if you look at a few resources that we have here, there's no Ngons actually. Well, we have a few here. Or well, I don't know if they. Well, Ngons are when you have more than 5. It's not Ngons. It's the star shape of vertices. When vertices have more than 4 connections, let's say. I don't know what that's called. Resources? No. References. Do I have readability? There it is. Do I have a full head? No. Okay, well, let's go to head readability. There you go. Let's see. Let's go this one. Oh, wow. Okay. For this one, we can see there are quite a few, but they're also all sort of in the area that don't really move that much. So what you would generally see in a lot of them is that you have one here to just kind of create this sort of shape around the eyes. You would have one here to kind of separate to create a bridge right here, to kind of follow this shape, this U shape. Pole like, equals vertice with 4 plus Ngon. 4 plus doesn't really matter, If it's a pole, then all of them are poles if it's 4 plus. You mean more than 4 or whatever? Yeah. So, oh, I closed my. Well, that's unlucky. I think what you can look at is maybe you can maybe see if you can get rid of this one here. Maybe this one doesn't need to be there. You can maybe even increase the. Actually, no. I think there generally needs to be one right here somewhere to get this. I think what you can remove right here is this one right here. This sort of this O shape that you have going from the forehead all the way to the nose tip. It seems like that you can. It seems like you can reduce this to you can remove this sort of O shape here. I think you can you can get rid of this. Of course, I would have to play around with this a little bit, to kind of get there, but I think you can change the geometry in a way where you can get rid of this sort of O shape. I think this O shape is sort of unnecessary. You probably wanted to get a little bit more resolution here into the nose, or wanted to shape the nose a little bit better. But I think you can probably even just change. You can probably even just close this shape right here. So if you bring everything that is down here, if you connect this edge here to this edge up here, maybe you just increase maybe the line count by 1 or 2. You can probably, you know, get rid of this one. And then the other one, maybe this one looks kind of interesting. Let's call it interesting. The nose is always annoying, to really apologize, but I think this one doesn't necessarily need to be here. Oftentimes what you can see with, oh no, I need to pull this up afterwards, is that for the edge flow around the nose, what also I oftentimes like to do is I like to go from here and then just kind of follow the nose. So that you have maybe an Ngon right here, but it's more right on the edge or the corner here of the crease. Right now we have a very smooth sort of transition to the rest of the mouth right here. There isn't really like a clear crease right there. Maybe by changing this corner right here, maybe you can kind of enhance that a little bit. Okay. Where was I? Moods. Dreamy. No, I wanted to laid back. There it is. No vocals, please. I need instruments. Perfect. Okay. Yep. Where am I? Did I close it? I did. No, I didn't. Yep. Those are a few things that that I would that sort of jumped out to me. Oh, another thing. Make sure if you want to animate this to include more more edge or more cuts here, more loops right around the eyelids, because if you close them, it's always good to have more, because then you can create smoother a smoother sort of eyelid. Basically, if you open your eyes, you would have they would crunch together more, but if you close them, you would need more to create to not lose too much geometry right here. Okay, let's go to the other ones. Let's begin with the first one. The first and third one are quite similar. But let's look at this one real quick. I think the comment was you wanted to match these two. You want to create a likeness. You wanted to create a likeness. So let's look at what maybe looks a little bit different between the two, that sort of hinders this from capturing the likeness. It jumped out and scared Nogi. What do you mean? What jumped out? I don't know. I'm hold on. Let's continue, okay? We don't have enough time, okay, to think. So let's look at what might be different between the two that could sort of kind of inherit the likeness, whatever. The first thing that jumped out to me is what we talked about before, is the shape of the nose. Looking at the distance here, the height distance between the nostril and the middle of the nose, looks like this right here. We can also draw a line, looks like this. There you go. And if you look at the nose real quick on your piece, it starts from here and goes like this. So you can see the V is just more open on the original than on yours. That's I think the first thing that jumped out to me. I like the nose here. I like this nose shape a lot. I like the V shape overall more, I guess, for my characters when I create them. But of course, if you want to create a likeness, you would kind of wanted to get more to a, I guess, line, to a T shape than a V shape for your nose. That's one thing. The other thing that I saw, it could just be the angle, but the lip here is quite flat, and here it is a little bit rounded. It could just be the angle. If you have a U shape and you look from the front, it might look like a line, but if you move a little bit higher, it might look like a U. So this could be the problem here, because the lips are rounded. It could look like a U shape even though it's a straight line. But from this angle, it looks like the corners are a little bit lifted. For this one, it would be the opposite. The middle of the lips is actually a little bit higher than the outer corners. So that could be one thing that you could adjust. It's hard here to see the face shape in general because it's sort of photographed from sort of slightly from the side. Stop bullying. Well, I sold you as an NFT. I don't know. I don't know if that works, but yeah, I guess. Yeah. So that's one thing. The nose and the lips. Another thing. I think the eyes might be a little bit too big, or the eyelids can be a little bit. I don't know how to say it. It seems like the eyelids go quite far back right now. I think you can bring all of this a little bit further forward. Why is it so? Oh, there we go. A little bit further forward, so that the corner is a little bit further forward, which would sort of envelop the eye a little bit more. In general, the eye is actually quite enveloped, you could say, quite covered by the eyelids. Right here, it looks a little bit too open, I guess you could say. Good thing about the spheres is that we can actually see like a middle of the eye, which is where the iris would be, which also indicates that the eye balls right now are a little bit too high. You can see here the middle where the lens would be is touching the upper eyelid, but if you compare that to the eyes right here, that's not the case. There you go. Just a few things here and there. Let's quickly go over the others. Let's go to the other one, this one right here. Here. We can see the same. We have a V shape for the nose that looks like this. For her, we have something more like this. Yeah. That's one thing that, that's why I always look at this, because it's such a big, it can make such a huge difference between characters. Another thing is, it looks like I see what you how you analyze this, and it looks kind of like the nose is quite wide, but I think that's more the shading. Um, Here it looks quite like the nose bridge looks quite flat and wide. I think it can be a little bit rounded, a little bit more rounded. Right now we don't really have like a highlight line maybe on each side. It looks quite flat overall, quite even lighting, which indicates sort of to me that the nose bridge is quite flat. I think you can round it a little bit more. And then the eyes, I think, look pretty good. The one thing that sort of jumps out to me is the iris position is a little bit further into the middle. It could just be that you wanted to make the character look into the camera, which of course brings the irises a little bit closer into the middle, but in general they would be in the middle of the white space. So the white space starts from the tear duct to the corner of the eye, and right now it's a little bit offset to the left side, just a little bit. So maybe you can push this a little bit further over here. And then I think the lips can be just a little bit wider. I think that will help as well. Just kind of widen them. Widening them a little bit should help there as well. Just kind of, you can see here how wide this is and how wide this is. I think you can make it just a little bit wider. Make them a little bit wider. And that should probably also help. Maybe even the eyebrows, maybe just increase the arch just a little bit. That could maybe help as well. Okay, and then one thing that I noticed here, just real quick, we're already over the time, okay? One thing that jumped out to me here is I think the boobs are quite low right now. I think you can bring them up just a little bit. I guess you wanted to make them look like, of course they don't have like a bra. She doesn't have a bra on, so maybe they're more free, you could say. Okay, but I think bringing them up a little bit can help a little bit, you know. Yeah, I think he sold the censored Greg. Well, I don't know who would buy that, but I guess, you know, um, do whatever you want with it. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next one. As long as you don't sell the original, okay? Then I will sue you. Let's go to the next one. The next one is by Tombit, and they made a character. Trying to do a stylized girl. Why isn't she pretty? Question mark, exclamation mark, sad smiley, XD. Okay. And then another version, the newer version. I intended to keep it bald, but not that one. The meme was right. She tries to look better. That's so speed chart on YouTube for all the hints. Oh yeah. Yeah. So you can make characters don't need hair to look female. There are a few indicators in the face to make it look more female. I think one thing you've already included, which is the for the eyes, the biggest thing. We can probably just look at this one here actually. The biggest thing to make a female face look more female, or to make a face look more female, is to use a make cat eyes, you could say, where the inner corner of the eye is lower than the outer corner. So you have so the shape looks more like this, okay, rather than sort of like this, I guess you could say. It's kind of offset, but you know. So basically that the outer corner is higher than the inner corner. That's also why you add makeup, because that sort of elevates that look. It accentuates that the corner is a little bit higher. The inner corner is a little bit higher than the outer corner, because it makes the eye look bigger, and that puts the weight a little bit higher, I guess you could say. So that's one thing that you can do to make your characters look more feminine. And you have done that, which is good, which is, I think, why the character, first of all, looks a little bit more female in this one than the other ones. You brought this corner is lower than the outer one. You could maybe say that it's this case here as well, but it looks more refined here, so that's, I think, one thing that helps. Another thing that you could consider is changing the forehead. Oftentimes what you see with female heads is that the forehead right here, the forehead, doesn't really protrude that much forward. So if you look at female face profile, what you see is that for the sort of shape of the head, you have a specific line. You have a line coming from the nose tip going diagonally up, and then somewhere in front of the eye it stops, and then it goes forward again, and then it goes back again. That's generally the sort of the line that I mean. And here you can see the protrusion of the forehead, basically right here. There you go. This is the protrusion right here. And for feminine characters, it often helps to make this line here, or this, you could say this angle that you can see here, making this angle wider. That oftentimes helps with making a character look more feminine. So looking at a few examples here, this one is quite wide. Looking at for her, it's a little bit, I guess, narrower, but it still works. It could also just be multiple factors, of course, but let's go through a few more here. This one as well is quite, well, it's such a horrible image. This one, I guess you could say, is quite open as well. And then if you contrast that to male face profile, you can see with male faces, you oftentimes have, especially here, you can see this bump for the um, for the forehead, for the eyebrows. You can see it goes forward and more forward. The protrusion is a little bit bigger. Let's see if we can find a good example. They are also small. Here you can see it might not necessarily be the angle, although it's also the angle, but it's especially that the eyebrows have a little bit more mass to them. They have a little bit more volume to them. So it protrudes a little bit further forward. Looking at this one here, for example, I think it is quite far protruded forward here. You can see the angle is quite narrow. I think widening this angle, bringing the eyebrows a little bit further back can help with the femininity, I guess, of your character. I'll have you know, I am a Jedi. You are no Jedi. You're a Sith. Okay. I don't know what the topic is, but continue. Hold on. I'm an online priest. Okay. I don't know where this lore started, but as I said, continue. So yeah, I think you kind of done that here. You brought the forehead a little bit further back. It seems that way. You also made the forehead in general a little less bulky, made it kind of smoother, a little bit smaller. I think that also helps with the femininity. This part here in the front is quite big right now. You brought it a little bit back a little bit. That helps as well. Um, Also, I always wanted to look at if you can sort of distinguish feminine noses with male noses or masculine noses. I haven't really found a good rule yet because yeah, I haven't really found a good rule yet for distinguishing the two. I think mm, I think in general the nose for females is more, hold on, is curvier or thinner than the ones of males. I have tried to see a difference between, I guess you could say in general, male noses are bigger than female noses, but you know there are um women with bigger noses, so that's not really a good rule. I guess exceptions prove the rule or whatever it is, but I think the nose bridge is one big thing. I think also in general the face in overall is a little bit smaller, or the head proportions are a little bit different, so that the nose is a little bit shorter as well. I think that's one change or one difference. The nose bridge, um, it seems, is a little bit narrower, and then for the nose tip, I guess I don't know. I don't know if there's a good rule for that. Yeah. So for the nose, it's kind of hard to say like a specific thing. The nostrils are a little bit smaller, maybe. Yeah. Um. Yeah. And then one thing that I notice here right now is the jaw. You can see here you've added a jaw. It could still be here. The angle changed, but no, you've reduced it a little bit. I think you can keep the jaw. Females don't necessarily have a smaller jaw. Well, they do, but I think it's more that the shape can change a little bit for females. Oh no, I closed the whole window. Um, so that what I mean is for females, what you can see oftentimes for, yeah, whatever. You can see here, this is quite a 90-degree angle almost. For her, for example, you can see what I mean. You have two lines for a jaw. You have the one that is going to the chin, and you have one that's going to the ear. And this thing builds an angle. This angle, oftentimes for feminine faces, can be a little bit more open. so that this line here doesn't necessarily change, but this line can change so that it is a little bit more diagonal maybe than a male face. For a male face, you can maybe even say like 90 degrees is pretty standard. For a feminine face, it can probably be a little bit more open. So if we bring that all in here, let's put that into Photoshop and do a few changes. So first thing first, you've changed the forehead. I don't know if the forehead is a big problem. One thing that I want to change right now is that the head looks kind of quite wide. Maybe we can bring that in a little bit, and then the back of the head can be a little bit rounder. There you go. I think that can help as well. Okay. Another thing that I want to change is the bridge of the nose. We can probably bring that a little bit further back here. Make it a little bit smoother. It's hard to do that in this angle, but there you go. And then I want to bring the jaw back a little bit. I think the jaw is important to kind of give the lower part of the head, especially a little bit more structure. Let's bring it back a little bit. There you go. This shape as well can also help. The cheekbone kind of being very pronounced can help as well, which is what you've added here, which is good. There you go. I think this already looks pretty feminine. Maybe you can bring this in a little bit more as well. Again, the protrusion of the eyebrow here. There you go. Okay. I think she's supposed to look angry. So one thing that is missing right now is the eyebrows. I think you brought them down a little bit, but what you need to keep in mind is that the eyebrows, because that's the neutral position, but if you use your eyebrows when you look like this, you push volume into the middle, which creates creases, which creates folds, which pushes volume together. And that's something that you haven't added yet. So you can either, kind of bring it down a little bit and add some folds down here, kind of look at how it looks when you do this. What folds are being created, and add that maybe to the character as well. I think one thing that is missing here right now still are the fat pad above the eyebrows, the eyelids below the eyebrows. Maybe you can look at that as well. Oh, and one more thing. If you sort of do this sort of clenched teeth expression, oftentimes the corner of the mouth right now looks kind of like this, you're trying to if you do this expression, you would kind of pull your corners of the mouth down, which means that the corner right now I think is a little bit too high. I think if you bring it down a little bit, you kind of get this sort of angry expression a little bit more. I think you would have to maybe do a few more changes to really get it there. You were in a pretty good spot. I think just lowering the corners a little bit can help there to bring it a little bit closer to the expression that you wanted to create. Okay, looking at the after and the before. This is the after, and this is the before. Small changes, but I think they also help making this look a little bit more feminine. We've lessened the protrusion of the forehead even more. We maybe even made the forehead a little bit rounder, or maybe even just narrower. We rounded the back of the head a little bit. There you go. I brought the jaw back because the jaw is important to give the lower part of the head structure. Maybe make the angle here coming from the ear a little bit sort of more open. And then we brought the corner of the mouth a little bit down so that we get this clenched teeth expression a little bit more. Yeah. And then especially the nose bridge being a little bit more open can help there as well and kind of bring the protrusion of the forehead back. Yeah, there you go. Da-da-da. Small changes can make a big difference. There you go. Yeah, that's those are a few changes that can make a character look more feminine. The brush teeth expression. Brush teeth? What do you mean? Brush teeth? Hmm. You mean the teeth look like brushes? Sort of whale, okay? There you go. You know the whale in Nemo have these brush teeth. I don't know if you call them teeth, but let's call it that. Oh, yeah. The face when you brush your teeth. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. Coco Mob Arts. The next one. Let's get into it. So, first one is another readability. So let's get into it. I think we really only need to look at this one because, well, they're the same, but just displayed differently. Okay. I looked at this before. I like the readability. We don't have too many whatever this is. I there was a name, but I can't remember it. These knots, let's call them. There aren't that many, and they're in places that I think they can be placed. One thing that I think Lego also mentioned is that where is it? There it is. More loops in the eyelids again. Right now we don't really have that many loops. You probably need a few more here, just add, a few more, maybe space them out a little bit to create a blinking, to have enough for blinking, for example. Just to add a few more loops right there, I think that would already be enough. And then another thing to keep in mind, oh, that just jumped out to me. Although, I think there are two ways you can do it. Do I still have no, I don't. Head retopology. There are two ways, two main ways to retopologize a head. There's I think it's Pixar, and then there's the Disney way of retopologizing a head. One of them creates edge, there are two ways. Of course, you have circles around the eyes, and then you have circles around the mouth. There are two ways you can create these circles around the mouth. One of them is going around the mouth like this. That's a weird color, but I guess we'll work with it. So going around the mouth like this, basically where the muscle of the face is. So if you look at him, poles, okay, let's call them poles. I don't know if you can see him. No, we can't. The muscle of the mouth is basically like a circle around the opening of the mouth, or around the lips. And if you look at the muscle around the eyes, it's the same. You have like these circles around the eyes. And that's oftentimes what it looks like when you retopologize the character as well. Head muscles. There you go. So here you can see we have three circles in the face. We have two circles for the eyes, and then we have one circle for the lips. And that is oftentimes, or that is what you can oftentimes see in retopologized heads or faces as well. You have the edge flow going around the lips, and then you have the edge flow going around the eyes, and then you have, connective edges that sort of connect the two. So if we go in here, we look at a few more examples. Let's look at this one again. What you can see here is, oh, come on. Oh, we can see another one here. And here we can see what I mean. There are two ways that you can retopologize the lips. Actually, let's see. It's not that different. But you can see what you can see here for the lips is that there are more circles going around the lips. It's kind of broader, the circle. And for this one, you can see these lines don't go around the lips. They sort of go out to the cheeks right here. There you go. They don't go around the lips. We have some going around the lip, but they're a little bit closer to the original lips than these ones are. And then another change is mainly the placement of this pole. It's kind of weird to explain. I need to look into it again to kind of really specify what it is. But you have either the way that you reapologize the faces, where you sort of go around the eyes fully. Right here, you can see that you go around the eyes here in this sort of goggle shape. That's one way to reapologize a face, or you can also sort of cut it off right here and just go to the side. So these are sort of the two main ways that I've seen how you can differently reapologize a face, either going horizontal here or going like a goggle around the eyes, like you can see here. You can choose which one is more intuitive to you. You chose the one, the one of them. So I think this works. Yeah, I think, especially when you want to animate the lips or when you want to animate the face, adding more loops into the eyelids can probably help, and then also I think in the lips it can help as well. Maybe just adding a few more can help there as well. But overall, I think I like the geometry. Yeah, yeah. It is nice and even and nice and structured, nice and low poly. But we're just adding a few more in areas where you need more. Will probably elevate the quality. Okay, let's go to the character. I don't know if that's actually is the character that originated from this face, but here's a character. Not only a face, which was the earlier version, but actually a full body, including an environment. Let's go into this one real quick and see. Okay, this is a different topology because of the expression, of course. But one thing that I wonder if this is automatic retopology. It just seems that way because of the topology here around the face. I don't know if automatic retopology would create these. Actually, it seems that way. It could not be because of the way that this sort of changes shape. But it could be. I don't know. This retopology is way more, I guess, specific to the mesh than it is optimized for animations. But it works for this one. So if you don't want to animate the character, it works. Good. Yeah, quad remesh. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so, it works here. We have the body without shading, well, in only colors, and then we have the body. No, this is only colors, and then we have the viewport shading, and then we have the final version. And then we have a body as well. Okay. I guess let's go to this one. Okay. There's one thing that I want to mention first. When I learned drawing, there's one thing that I learned very quickly when it comes to posing characters. Oftentimes you can create more interesting poses if you give them a curved spine. That sounds weird, but if you draw a skeleton, you would have the head right here. You would have the head, and then you would go down. The spine would go down. So then you would have the rib cage. There you go. And then you would have the there you go. You would have the hips right here. There you go. And the spine doesn't really change, right here where the rib cage is and where you can't really curve where these pieces are, this piece here and this piece here, but it can curve in between, which means that you can, for example, rotate the hip a little bit to the side, which would curve the spine a little bit in this direction. Or if you kind of change the pose or the camera position a little bit, you can maybe even include an S shape for the for the pose, where you can rotate for example, you can rotate the hip in one direction and the rib cage in the other direction to, yeah, create the sort of S shape. But what I want to, why I say all that is give them scoliosis. No, that's not what I mean. But what I mean right now here is that I think she's doing this sort of beginning to walk animation, but the hips don't necessarily react to the weight change. If you lift your foot above the ground, this means that you're only standing on one foot. That you only saw. Hold on. If you lift one foot off the ground, that means that you're only really standing on one foot. Which means that the weight is fully placed on that one foot. Which also means that the weight distribution on your hips changes. So if you stand like this, the hips would just be, you have weight pushing right here and you have weight pushing right here. But if you lift one foot, like this one, for example, there's no weight pushing right here anymore. There's only weight pushing right here, which means because the earth is sort of, if you kind of look at gravity, it kind of pushes the character. It's hard to say. Like the leg, because it's standing on the floor, kind of pushes upwards, which means that when there's only one leg that is pushing upwards, the hip sort of tilts to this side because this one doesn't push anymore, so it can give room to the hip, I guess. Which means that you could probably sort of tilt the hip a little bit to the side, which also means that you create a little sort of side tilt to the overall body, which the character would have to react to by kind of bringing the kind of doing this. I'm bad at explaining. Kind of, yeah, like, yeah, I don't know. Let's see if we can find a good example real quick. Um, let's see. Can we go to here maybe even? You can see it. So what we can see here is that it's not that crazy here, but you can see it a little bit. Oh, well, no. You can see it. It's very slight, but it's still different. Yeah, she's moving, which means that the hip is right here and the hip is right here. There's a slight downwards tilt, which also means that the hip, I mean the spine it goes like this. Okay. Like this. You want to keep your upper body straight, which is why it looks like this. You also want to keep your balance, so you probably have to tilt it in this direction a little bit more. You have the hips that look like this, so you create this sort of C shape slightly. The slight C shape. If you don't kind of keep that in mind, your characters look a little bit stiff, you could say. And I think that's one thing that sort of jumped out to me here. I think you kind of just, add that slight hip tilt and then this rotation of the upper body just a little bit into this. I think that can already help a lot when it comes to improving this pose. It looks pretty good. I don't really have too much to say about the character. You could argue, I think it's a fairly stylized character, so it's not that you want to add like super crazy detail to it. Maybe one thing you could say maybe that you could add some seam lines to the clothing. I think that could help as well. Just kind of making it look less like one piece and more like actual clothing that has been sewn together. Say maybe for the swimsuit. But overall, I think the character looks pretty good already. But these are just like small details that you could consider in making it to make it look, maybe even better. Yeah. The center of gravity switches exactly. 360 turnaround at the bottom or somewhere else. No, maybe somewhere else. let's go to the next one. Yeah, we need to go to the next one. The time is unfortunately over. I already exceeded the time multiple times. Okay. Just realized I didn't post my Orc Slayer. Yeah. Well, unlucky. Okay. Let's go to the next one. The next one is by Sharp Shark 123. A little bit higher. Well, okay. We're gonna look at it after this one, if I still remember it, okay? Okay. We have another character and a pretty finished, maybe not finished, but it's a, I don't know what you, complete character. Okay, let's say complete character. With outfit and hair and, you know, the character itself. Nogi is time. What do you mean time? To sleep? No, to drink. Hold on. It's time to drink. Okay, thank you for the, thank you to, thank you for reminding me. Get your liquids out. Okay. Milk, vodka, dare I say water. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So let's look at this. One thing that I like a lot is that you have added seam lines. You can see how much that changes the look of the clothing. Without it, I always get the it always seems like clay. Yeah. But once you add these seam lines, you add, just by adding these small details, you can really quickly add a level of realism to the clothing. So that's why I always harp on adding seam lines. Here you've added them not only because you have multiple layers of clothing or cloth, or they're sewn together, but also, you know, you've added them probably by sculpting. So thumbs up there, nice, well done. Still debating whether or not to get a coffee refill. Nah, who needs coffee? Just sleep more. Okay, yeah. So that's nice. I think one thing that I looked at it, and the one thing that kind of jumped out to me is, or that sort of came into my mind, is the character looks a little flat, and I couldn't really see why on first sight. But I think the more I look at it, the more I kind of can explain it. One thing I think is I think this is fur. These gray areas are fur. Right now, I think you can include the fur into the clothing itself. I think everything is sort of very flat when it comes to depth. Um, in other terms, it looks like you've added a just well, it's not okay. It's like adding a displacement modifier, applying a texture to it, but then bringing the strength down to like 0.1. I think you can crank the strength up to maybe 0.5 or maybe even more. It could be as easy as just going into this using the smooth modifier and then holding control and just applying it to these folds. That can already increase the depth of all these folds. But I think you can really increase the depth of these folds a lot. I think that's one thing that kind of jumps out to me. The folds are all quite flat and it looks like everything's very tight. But especially with these very like it looks like winter clothing, especially here around these waistbands. I think you would have very deep creases, not only because of the pose, which is slightly, you know, like in this sideways tilted position, which would create more creases right here, but also in areas where you have the arms, you would oftentimes have a lot of deep creases, and here I think as well, where the sort of fabric is resting on the hips and kind of crunches together right here, I think you would have very deep creases here as well. And then the next one is the fur. The fur looks, the line, you can see lines which indicates that it's fur. I think you can increase the depth though. Right now it looks very, very like one. If we think about it, fur is basically just very, very tiny pieces of hair, and because you have so many in one place, it looks like a bigger shape. But right now this looks like a smooth surface, so it doesn't really look like it's like hair. It's more like, clay. So probably just increasing, adding way more creases and really going deep into the surface, digging deep can enhance the look of oh, I don't want to delete it, of the fur and overall the folds right here. Um, Hold on. I used weather correctly since it rains with coffee. What? What's sleep? Yeah, I don't like sleep, but you gotta do it. Made the character of the jacket. I made the jacket of my character at 4 a.m., so don't expect a lot. I mean, you know, um, I go into all of them without any expectations. Okay, that doesn't mean that I expect all of them to be bad. I just try to be as open as possible. You are a night owl. Well, I try not to be. I changed my schedule that I am not, but I like to be one. Yes. Okay. I think a big good example for this would be actually this bad boy right here, the Chun-Li figurine. I don't know if you can see it. That's the problem. Hold on, let me change the lighting. So you can see, um, because she is raising her hip wall. What you can see first is that it's hard to kind of remove my fingers if I don't look at it. You can see that the hips are rotated upwards. So first of all, that she can raise her leg higher, but also because she wants to shift the weight. And then if you look at this, you can see she not only rotates to the side with the hips, but then she rotates her upper body back into the center to keep the balance. See how we have this the C shape right, oh, the C shape right here, which means that this side here is quite stretched, but this side on the other side here, the waist, is quite crunched together. Which means, hold on, can you see it? Maybe not. Let me bring in my phone. There you go. You can see how crunched together the folds are right there. And if you go to the other side, it's quite open. So I think that's one thing that you can increase a little bit here. And overall, I think maybe look in some pose references, maybe even with similar clothing, to kind of look at where the deep creases in the outfit would be. Yeah. But overall, it looks pretty good. I like the outfit. If you want to talk about post processing, maybe you could make it pop a little bit by increasing the depth a little bit, by increasing the contrast a little bit. So what I like to do here is I want to actually check something. Camera raw filter. What we have here for the camera raw filter is the graph right here. What you should try to do is utilize the full range of color values for your renders. Oftentimes, what you see in renders is that you have a lot of dark areas, but you don't really have a lot of bright areas, which is what you can see. Actually, this one is a little bit. It's actually the opposite. You don't have a lot of dark. You have some white. Everything's sort of here in the shadow area. You have a lot of values right here. So to adjust that, we want to bring in a little bit more of this black, make it a little bit darker, bring in more of the blacks. So what we can do is we can make it a little bit darker. First of all, there you go, so that we can see that it peaks here. You can see the graph going up. Could be, I can't really go, closer, but you can see it. Okay, so we go up here so that we include the blacks a little bit. There you go. If you go too high, you can see it clips the color. So I don't want to do that. I just want to include some blacks right there. There you go. And then for the whites, it ends before it reaches the end. So we can increase the whites a little bit as well, so that when it goes up, we include more pure white. So now we utilize the full range of the render or the colors. And then what we can also do is we can change the contrast. We can either do that with the contrast change, but I don't like the contrast. I like the curves more because you have more control over it. And then we can, generally what I like to do is just include a 2 points right here for this inner kind of thingy so that we can create an S-curve. We want to bring in more white and more black area so that the contrast increases a little bit, which spreads these values out a little bit more. And you get a broader looking image with more contrast, so that we get get to this one with just small changes. So basically what you want to try to do for all your character renders is utilize the full range of your of the color range. You want to have the darkest of you want to have pure dark, pure black parts in your image and pure white parts in your image to create a nice contrast rich image. And then if it still looks flat, you could go into stuff like Photoshop, or maybe you can even do it in Blender and increase the contrast even more by, for example, going into the curves, adding two points right there and creating like this slight S curve to include more, to raise the bright areas up a little bit and to lower the dark areas, to kind of bring most the pixels that are in the middle, if most of the pixels are sort of sitting in the middle, to kind of spread them apart a little bit more, so that we go from something like this to something like this to something like this. You can see how much that can change an image. Just kind of changing the range of the colors and spreading them out a little bit more. There you go. Da-da-da. I haven't changed the saturation. Okay, I've only changed the values, so black and white, or the brightness values. If I now would increase the vibrance, you can see that also it does something. But yeah, contrast can do a lot for your image. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So sculpting with a little bit more depth is probably the one thing, and then for the render, if you want to have some render or feedback, utilizing the full range, I guess, of the yeah, kind of being aware of the contrast in your render as well. Okay. The next one is by Hyrule, and they made a readability piece as well. So let's look at that next. Another readabilized head. And for this one, we have quite a few poles. So we have a pole right here for the nostril. We have a pole right next to it, right there. Let's actually mark them. So we have one right here. Why is this so small now? Or can I change it again? Oh, there it is. So we have one right here. Right here. We have one right here. We have one right here. This one is okay. Right there. We have one right there. We have one right there. Right there. This one is also one because it only has 3 connections. Right there. Right there. Right there. Right there. More? I think that's all of them in the front of the face. There you go. That's quite a lot. Generally, you try to minimize the amount that you have, and I think you can do that here still. you can minimize the amount that you have. I think kind of looking at them, the ones that sort of jump out to me that aren't necessary, the first ones that jump out to me are these two here. You only need one. You can probably clear this up so that you only have one here, you know? Maybe even join them together or whatever, you know? Just kind of look at how you can clear this up. Oh, there's one more right there as well. So that you don't have two right next to each other. There's another one right here as well. And I think you can clear these two by changing the topology just a little bit, where you don't move from here to here, but you rather move from here to the eye. I think you can include these two at least into the topology that goes to the eye, which removes this, or at least shifts this this pole a little bit further, somewhere over here. And then this one, this U shape. Generally, you should try to avoid U shapes in the face or in retopology in general. I still can't get around them in hands, but I'm still working on that. Okay. For faces, generally avoiding these U shapes is a good way to go. You oftentimes, if this is symmetrical, what that means is that you can basically just remove these U shapes because they only really add more, or they're there to complete an edge flow by just turning it around, So why don't you? You can also just remove that edge flow, You've probably added it because you found yourself in that position where you have, like, you connect everything, but then you see, oh, we have 5 up here and we have only 3 down there. So you create like a way to merge them together, which is how you end up with this. But I think, now that you've created this, I think cleaning it up by, I don't know, maybe adding more down here or adding more or removing some up there, is probably good to do. I think you should rather add more down here because the spacing right here is quite um, wide. That's one thing that sort of jumped out to me. There isn't really that much geometry here. It seems quite well spread out in this area, but there's very not that much geometry here. Maybe just adding a few more lines here can help. Maybe even adding a few more here can also help. Right now, we have a very clear difference between the size of the vertices, or the distance between the vertices here and the distance between the vertices here. Generally, you try to stay as close as possible, or you stay as even as possible in the face. Well, you don't. Well, there are different sort of densities in retopologized, bodies, but you can see here we have more around the nose, around the lips, around the eyes, but here the difference between them is quite big. Yeah, I think this is maybe a little bit too big. So yeah, whatever you can do to fix that. Yeah, you could try, kind of seeing what you can do here. Okay. Yeah. That's I think the big changes that I would propose, okay? Other than that, ears are annoying, okay? We can't really see the ears that well. We have another one right there, another conclusion or curve or edge flow redirection, which might not be necessary. Maybe. The problem with redirections is always that they can lead to confusing confusing edge flows. So if you, for example, say, hey, I want to add one more edge flow right here, what happens is maybe you want to add it right there, but what happens if you add it right there so that it goes from here, woo, and then it gets redirected, and then who knows where it will end up. And what you can oftentimes see, especially when you do automatic retopology, is that it just, you want to add one more crease somewhere, but then what you can see is that it basically covers the entire body, the crease, which, you know, you try to avoid to keep it nice and clean. So redirection should be very, I guess, should be held at a low or whatever. It should be avoided if possible. Can't send you a super sticker. It's broken. Okay. Weird. I need to change the alerts. I don't know if somebody has done that before. Super chances, super stickers or whatever. Because I haven't changed my alerts yet. But I don't even know if the alerts are on. I think they are. But I need to change that because right now it's still tied to the live channel, to the old live channel. So if something happens there, then then the alert pops up. Not when when something happens on this channel. So I need to change that. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the next one. The next one is made by James. James has posted a new piece, his new creation of the goblin in the soup, in the pot, the cooked goblin. Okay. I don't know which one was the. I think this one was the earlier version, and this one's the finished version or the more final version. So let's look at this one. Let's look at the if you wrote anything. There it is. Just finished the goblin, but would still like input for improvements. Okay. Okay. So one thing that I always like to add to my, so it might be it might be just preference, but I always like to add a background because I don't know, it just puts the character, well, the argument could be that if you don't add a background, you can fully focus on the character. I just like to add a background because then it sort of puts the character into a scene. It looks more realistic, or it looks more as looks more like a whole. I don't know how to, it looks more complete. But you don't have to. I think just like what I always like to do is I don't like pure black for my renders. Just because it is a very harsh color. I like to keep it when it comes to sort of shadows on the body, for example. But if it's a bold color, a blank, yeah, basically like a flat color, I don't really like to use pure black. But that could just be me. I like to lift it just a little bit so that it's like a dark gray. Um, but let's look at the goblin itself, okay? I like the details that you've added here, these scales or whatever. The yeah, these scales, these veins, and then the folds as well. I think one thing that maybe could improve the face of the goblin would be maybe to look at the like a real facial expression of what he does right here or it does right here. To see how a face would deform in that expression. I think one thing that sort of jumps out to me right now is the sort of open space that we have here right now. It is a very flat piece right here, very flat space. I think if you would do that expression, it would look a little bit more. There would be more action here. If I do this right now, you probably have a line going from the nose to the corner of the mouth. You also have a little bit of like a volume right here, because you push your like folds, maybe even going like this. There you go. So folds right here, maybe even continuing them down. Another thing is there are certain muscles that deform the mouth. There are ones that connect to the corner of the mouth. There are ones that connect to the middle. Actually, no. I don't know if there are muscles in the middle, but there are definitely muscles at the corner, and then sort of in the middle between the corner and the sort of middle of the mouth. So they can do you can do this. You can you can widen. You can pull the corners of the mouth apart, but then you can also sort of change the you can sort of you can not only pull it to the side right here, but you can also pull it upwards like this or downwards like this. So that's what you can see here. I think you want to achieve a similar look to what you can see in the Surfer. What is the Surfer? No, it was another character. Where we talked about feminine traits without hair. I think you have lowered the corner of the mouth, which is good. But to kind of keep the lips up there, you would have to sort of raise the. You would need the muscles that connect to the lip right there to pull the lips up, which would probably result in the nose going up a little bit. It's kind of hard to, to see, but I kind of feel like the facial expression anatomy in this part here could maybe be improved. It's hard to really. I'm not an expert, of course, with expressions, but that's sort of my feeling here. I think especially this crease right here is quite wide, quite far apart. I think maybe even just bringing this a little bit further into the middle can help. Another thing, I think he's supposed to have a sort of angry look like this, looking angry, maybe even looking seductive. I don't know if that's seductive, but whatever. And if he's supposed to look angry, he's frowning, which means that the eyebrows would probably bunch up in the middle, which also means that they would probably have a fold right here, looking like this, looking very mean. Okay, looking very frowny. I think that is missing right now. If that's the case, if that's what you wanted to do. Another thing is the ears. Oftentimes, for the ears are very thin, which means that the edge of the ear right here would also be very thin, which means that it's very sharp. Right now, it is pretty round, which means it's pretty thick. So that's one thing that you can consider as well, making the ears a little bit thinner. They can always be scary when you sculpt in Blender because you don't want to, you have to pay attention to not make it too thin because then you kind of push the geometry through each other so you have intersections. But yeah, there are ways to sort of to make it nice and thin. We can't annoy, yeah. 5 Ron. Wait, did somebody super chat? I think I can check that in my analytics. I need to do that. If somebody did that already or in previous streams, then thank you. I appreciate it a lot. I will do a post if that's the case. When I check it. And then I will change the alerts this weekend, okay? So that everything's up to date. I have been working on this video for quite a while, so I'm happy that I'm already almost done with it. Okay. Yeah, those are a few things that sort of jump out to me. Let's just, yeah, then, one thing that sort of jumps out to me too for the neck is it looks like a, so this shape is good, but what is missing is the neck itself. We have the neck muscles that go to the back of the head right here, up here somewhere. But what is sort of missing is the front part of the neck. So basically what the parts that, for example, go from the ear to the collarbone, going from here to here, you know? Um, that is, it looks like it's not existent. It's very smooth right here. Oftentimes what you can see with, when you look at the neck is that you can see the muscle right here, and then it gets, sort of covered by the neck that is further in the front, you know? But, that seems to kind of, it seems to be missing here. But maybe that's just because of the lighting. Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, it looks pretty good. I like the lighting. Nice dark areas, nice bright areas. Maybe you could look at post-production a little bit more, maybe to bring the colors, make them pop a little bit more. But yeah, other than that, it looks pretty good. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next post, which has been made by Passion, which is a PNG, no blend file. I am surprised. Okay, usually they always like to post a blend file. This time it's not a blend file. It is a PNG. Okay, a character. Let's look at the character. Okay. The first thing that sort of jumped out to me when I looked at it. What's up? Huh? What do you mean? The first thing that jumped out to me is the sort of choppiness of some parts. The main thing that jumped out to me, first of all, was the iris. Looks sort of blocky. You can see it here, kind of pixelated and kind of wobbly. I guess that's just because you've sculpted maybe an eye and then you just shaded one part in one color and then shaded the other one, like you shaded the rest in the other, in another color. And that's why it looks like this. What you can do is you can go into Blender, and if you go into the into sculpting, what you can do to fix that, to make it nice and clean, is you can use the face sets brush. So if you want to make a very clean line in your sculpted topology, you can use the face sets brush. You can create your you can create a shape that you want to, or you want to indicate where you want to have this clean line. So I want to have a clean line right here. This line is supposed to be very clean. So then you can paint it like this. And then you can use the smooth brush. You can hold shift to make this line nice and smooth. And this way you can create these nice clean edges in your sculpt. You may have noticed that that the faces just kind of get pushed together. So that could be a problem. But if it's just for visual purposes, you don't really care about a very clean, you don't really care about a clean, topology as much. You care more about the clean line that you can create with this. Yeah, then this is a good way to do that. So if you want to create an eye, for example, what you can do here is you can just say, hey, I want to have an eye. You go into the front view, for example. You select this area. Oh. You select this area. Ooh. And then you can go, hey, let me smooth this. And then you just go in here. You can make it nice and smooth. And then we have a semi-smooth circle. There you go. Of course, the amount of smoothing that you can do depends on the geometry, but yeah, there you go. This way you can make it a little bit smoother. I wonder why it won't let me. I don't know. Maybe it has to be, I don't know, confirmed. I don't know. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, that's one thing that you can do to make the iris a little bit, cleaner. The other thing that jumped out to me is the nose. The nose shape is hard to explain, but let me see if I can draw it. Let's look at a image real quick. Nose. I don't want to shop noses. Okay. So I think this is perfect. Actually, I like a 3/4 view. There you go. No, this is perfect. This is actually perfect. So the nose has a weird shape. Let's say here's the nose tip, That's the nose tip. Okay. And then we have the nostril right here. There you go. And we have the bridge right here, Well, if you kind of think about it, the nose tip looks something more like this, and then we have the nostril underneath it, like this, But that's not important, okay? What I wanna sort of draw right now is the shape of it. The nostril starts off pretty round. It looks like this. Okay, it's nice and round. But then at some point, it starts to get sort of flat. And that is right here. You can see how it kind of transitions from getting round into this rather smooth area. And then it maybe even go inwards. It usually stays flat. And then it rotates around and goes into this area here. So what you get is sort of this shape right here. It's a weird shape, and it's not perfect how I drew it, but that's how I always imagine the nose shape. You have somewhat of a flat part right here, and then you have a round part for the nostril. If we compare that to yours, the nostril is flat, and the side part of the tip of the nose is flat. So what you can do here is you can probably just round the nose here a little bit to make it look a little bit more natural. Look at that peach fuzz, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So that's one thing that you can consider. Another thing is the bottom of the nose bridge, bottom of the middle of the nose. I think maybe you can make it a little bit wider so that the nose holes are more. If we draw a nose, it looks like this, and the nose holes don't look like this. Okay, they look like this. Two ovals diagonally to each other, pointing to each other. So which means that the bridge starts off pretty thin, but then it widens as it gets closer to the face, I guess, to the base of the nose. And right here it looks more like this. So you can probably widen the bridge a little bit, or the base. So rounding this out a little bit can probably help. And then making this a little bit wider. For the could be just the character, but right now the eyebrows, for example, are quite far outwards. Generally, if you look at faces, the eyebrows are oftentimes either on tear duct width or a little bit further in the middle. So if we look at a face, Facebook. That's not what I wanted to do. Face. What we can see here is that the eyebrows, here the standard face, they are ending in the middle. In the middle, they end where the corner of the eye is. The tear duct ends, I guess, or the corner, yeah, the corner of the eye. And then it can also be further in the middle. So for this one, you can see it is a little bit further in the middle. Zip. And for yours, it's a little bit further outwards. So more like this. That could be just a decision to make the character more unique. Chun-Li, for example, has a similar deviation from the norm, I guess you could say. So that's not necessarily a problem. What might be a bigger problem is the way maybe the eyebrows end. The shape, this arc, mainly gets created because of the way that the planes of the face, I guess, work. If we look at the tutorials channel and look at the good old planes of the face, we never get through this without looking at the planes of the face once. Okay, once per session we need to look at it. Hopefully Discord didn't delete it. There it is. This arc oftentimes gets created because the eyebrow starts right here, then it goes up, and the arc sort of helps it be more straight or go down, let's say. It might not. Oftentimes what you can see when you look at side profile people, the eyebrows go down just slightly. The arc or the plane change oftentimes helps with the arc that you can see in eyebrows. Yeah, that's just a small detail. Time for a Facebook stream. I actually would like to stream to Facebook, but I can't. Restream.io, which is what I use to multi-stream to YouTube and Twitch. You know, you can stream to Facebook, but I would need to pay, which is not the problem. But the problem is I need a credit card, and I don't have one. So I would have to get that first. Yeah. So just a small thing. Maybe that was just a useless ramble. Other than that, I think it's still pretty rough. But those are just some small things that you could consider. Did you mention something in here? Did you say something about the what you wanted to keep in mind, maybe? Oh, you actually added a file. Well, that's my bad. I didn't see that. My bad. But I would do the same, round out the nostril a little bit. And what was the other one? I think overall it comes down to looking at the planes of the face image again, just kind of refining the features according to that a little bit. I'll throw off what I advised me to remake. You look at what the proportions I think it did not get. Why would Discord delete this? I don't know. It deleted Roberto, so I don't know what happened to it. To what Discord did. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry that I didn't see it. I'm sorry, but yeah, those are a few things that you could change, and then you're just gonna refining the sculpt to make it cleaner. Let's go to the next one. The next one has been posted by Purge. Purge had two pieces, I think. The first one is this character, and then the other one is this one. I think they posted another one, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly, right before I started the stream or when I started the stream. Maybe not. Wait. A video. Ooh. Oh, 3. Okay, yeah. That's what you meant. Yeah. Unfortunately, Zach, 9:03. Okay. That is unfortunately too late, okay? Wait, is it? Yeah. I started at 8. And it is what is it? The rule is when I start, nothing else gets added afterwards, okay? Greg is live in our memories, yeah. He's also live on my disc, but unfortunately I can't add him back that easily. Let's go to the next one. The next one is by Purge. He made 2, so let's look at the first one first. Okay, so the first thing that jumped out to me was, wait, any comments? Commentos? Any comments? Nope. Right sculpting without reference and such eyes feel off. I don't know. Stared at this dude too long. Okay. Yeah, the first thing that I wanted to mention are the eyes. Sending my bot army, well, time for a ban then, and if it hits you, well, it's your own fault, okay? So, yeah, the eyes. Let's go to what we talked about before. Eyes. The iris generally is placed in the middle of the white space of the eye. So if you create an eye, or if you look at this one here, for example, what I mean with the white space is this to this, the distance here. White space is everything that you can see of the eyeball that is white. The iris is in between, or is right in the middle of that space. So if you were to draw a line right here, it would be in the middle. Looks to be pretty good. For yours, oh, where's my, there it is. If we draw the white space, if of course it's a 3/4 view and also shot from up top, so that's makes it a little bit harder. But if you were to draw this right here and right there, if you draw a line, you can see it is quite far to the right side. I don't think the problem necessarily is the position of the iris. I think for this one, it's more, the problem here might more be the outer corner. I have done this mistake myself a lot, even last year, which is to push the corner of the eye too far back. I think bringing the corner of the eye here, zip, just further forward, can already help center the iris a little bit more. You might need to bring it a little bit further over here, which might be a problem because, you know, the sphere is that big, but maybe even just reducing the sphere size can help, and maybe keeping the iris size the same. But yeah, that's one thing that you could do. Bring the corner of the eye a little bit further forward. Angry teapot imminent. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing. For the eyes. I think that's already that will already help a lot. Let's go into Photoshop and actually do that. Smart object. There you go. And then liquify. Let's bring it closer. Okay. Yeah, there you go. If we were to bring the iris into the middle, we would probably push it quite far down. I will do that just to kind of demonstrate what it would look like. Okay, the iris got pushed together a little bit. There you go. That looks pretty good. Let's do it on the other side. The other side is harder because it has perspective in it. I'll just do it anyway. Okay, there you go. So this is what it looks like afterwards. It's scuffed, but who cares, okay? So it would go from this to this. Kind of reminds me of Sonic with these eyes right now. But yeah. You could argue that they look more realistic. This one looks more stylized. But I think, I think that's what was bothering you with this, with the eyes. Yeah. Only debit, get Revolut. What's Revolut? Um, Greg's name? No, his original name was Roberto, okay? So, that's what I would call him. That's what I will call him forever, okay? Yeah, there you go. So that can help. Of course, it changes the appearance of the face a lot, but you know what? Um, you need to decide what you want to do. Of course, looking at it from the front, he might look like he's cross-eyed, this like this. So you might need to change the way the eyes maybe are positioned. Maybe the size need to change to bring them into a more natural look. But this is one way you can adjust it. You would probably also have to change. You would have to bring the eyebrows forward because right now it looks kind of weird. There you go. That looks better. It looks more like a normal dude now. But yeah, that's one thing you can do to fix the eyes. Um, I think overall you need to bring the corner of the eye further forward, or bring all of this. What? Oh, or bring all of this here further, sort of inwards into the head. Yeah. Other than that, one thing that I notice is the lips look a little bit shallow. So maybe adding a deeper crease can help. Also maybe looking at the muscles or the shapes, the planes of the face around the lips can help to give them more depth. They look pretty good already, but I think you can give them just a little bit more to make them pop even more, give them more character, more depth. Like the lips, the bumps of the lips, for example, and also the planes around the lips. Um, yeah, maybe planes overall, but especially in the lips. Um, yeah. And then, you could argue that everything looks somewhat flat. You could maybe argue that you could increase the depth of your creases, I guess you could say, so that it looks less smooth with more, deeper creases. The contrast cannot only be increased in the render, but also in your sculpt surface. And that's one thing you could also consider changing or adjusting. There you go. Let's go to the other one. The other one is the good old demon. There it is. We've seen this sculpt before. Let's save this real quick. Version 2. A demon. Mr. Demon. There it is. There was a comment, which was, what was the comment? The comment was, we're back with the Horned Man. Can't really figure out what is off about this. Maybe you guys noticed something worth improving on. Only thing I really want to change that I notice are the eyelashes. I can't get them right though, no matter what method I try. So someone used the mask lasso tool around the eyelids to extract and create those anime-esque eyelashes, and it works fine for me, but they're very wobbly. Compared to the eyebrows, doesn't really work. What I like to do for eyelashes, if they don't need to be realistic, to block them out, is I like to model them. I like to use a plane and then add solidify modifier to them so that they have a little bit of depth. And then I like to model the eyelids. That's what I've done for the Chun-Li figurine. And I think that's also good what you can see here. It's just like a, like a bar as eyebrows. Here you can also see. Oh yeah, this one is another way to polymodel eyelids. Yeah, this thing basically. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think polymodeling is the best way to go. I sometimes sculpt eyelashes, but It's a little bit tricky. I could show you in my female torso speed sculpt. I did it. I actually don't remember when I did it. Was it in here? I don't remember the name. I mean the number. I think I can remember where it is if I look at the sculpts. This one should be this one. So for this one I sculpted eyelids. Eyelashes. But I think they still look kind of blocky. You know, I added probably like 100 or maybe even 200 resolution dynamic topology to these, and then I just used the snakehook modifier to pull out individual hairs to create this. So that's how I do it sometimes, but it you know, it's not perfect. I think it'll probably look better if you just polymodel it. One thing that I notice right now is the way the horns go into the head. Often that's what you can see with demons or with, let's say, devil, is that horns come out of the head, which means that they penetrate the skin, which means that they push the volume of the skin, or they push the skin apart, which means that you don't have necessarily creases for the horns, but more bumps going outwards, which is what you can see here. Oftentimes, that's oftentimes what you can see with horns, or what I always remember seeing as horns. Maybe this one's better. See how it pushes the volume apart here and bunches us up. It creates these bumps instead of creases that go inwards, because the horns don't go into the head; they come out of the head. That's one thing that sort of that I just noticed. Other than that, you know, it's probably maybe you're rolling your eyes at this point, but planes of the face, you know, looking at that, can also help. I think the cheekbones can be pronounced a little bit more right here. I think they're quite flat. Just a little bit can probably help. Yeah. On to the next one. The next one is by Reflection. There it is. Which is this sculpt, this figurine. I think there were some comments. Hold on. Where are the comments? There it is. Big project on a friend's original character. Tried to print it, but it was horrible. Oh no. Yeah, printing stuff like this. I speak of experience. I wasted quite a lot of material creating the Chun-Li figurine. Creating these small details can be quite a hustle. Yeah. Still feels it looks off somehow. Don't know if you want advice, but here's my unsolicited opinion. The peg's insertion point looks higher than where it's supposed to be. Oh, right here. And not under the deltoid. The neck looks like it's not merged. The body, and if you want to add a bit of whatever to the character, add his skeleton, but I assume that it's not present in the OC of your friend. Okay. That was just, I don't know if you actually understood what I said, but let's go into the sculpt. Yeah. So, yeah, first of all, it looks like the parts of the body don't look like they're merged. It looks like they're intersecting with each other. You can especially see that with the shoulder. We talked about the line coming from the collarbone to the armpit right here. Oh, hello. This line right here. This line is kind of displaced, probably because the peg is too high. The shoulder would cover more of the peg right here. So you could probably push this area here a little bit further into or underneath the shoulder to bring this line a little bit further into the middle. Another thing, arm shape looks a little bit off. That is probably because of the way I oftentimes see that. I probably did it myself when I drew characters. The arm shape is kind of weird. Oftentimes what you can see when you draw arms is that you have your shoulder like this, and then you have your forearm right here, which looks like this. You know, did it somewhat like this, okay? And then the biceps, oftentimes what you can see when people draw it, looks, or the arm, the upper arm, looks something like this. Very round, like this. And then you maybe even have a biceps, which is what you can see here. But the shape of the muscles of the arm, of the upper arm, look a little bit different. The biceps look quite straight, you know, just like it ends right here, and then it goes up, and it is quite straight, you know, like looks somewhat like this, like a sausage, you know. But the triceps is what gives the arm its shape, especially when you look from the front, even from the side, which means, well, from the side not necessarily, but especially from the front, the triceps has two heads, one of them being higher than the other one. The smaller one is, or the higher one, is on this side. You usually say smaller and bigger muscle. We have the smaller one right here and the bigger one right here, which results in a shape that looks something more like this. Yeah, something more like this. It's just a scribble, so it may be hard to see, but if we go to a real example, I can show you what I mean. It is not perfectly round like this. The muscle is especially thick at the top, and then it gets thinner as it comes to an end. So if we were to look at that in real life, let's look at the good old builder of bodies. Hold on. Let me annihilate some tabs. So if we look at this, can we see a relaxed arm, please? Maybe not. Seems hard to, you know, find one. It's probably easy to just go to Pinterest for that. Let's see if I have a resource for that. In my anatomy references. There it is. Yeah, this one's easier. So here you can see the shape. The shape is a little bit different than, you know, the figurine. You can see the biceps right here. Woo. Then you can see the triceps right here. And we can see the triceps right here. So you can see the shape is quite different to what your figurine, I guess you could say, has, which is like this. There you go. You can see there's quite a small difference here, and there's also a small difference here. So it's kind of hard to explain the shape. You kind of have to just kind of memorize it. But that's one thing to keep in mind for the arm, for the upper arm muscles, for example. Um, Of course, because of all the pieces, because the pieces are all still apart, it's harder to maybe adjust them. But, you know, this line here, you can adjust it by bringing the pecs a little bit further underneath the shoulder. Other than that, I think the face is quite, it's lacking some important landmarks. The ones to note, I think the cheekbone is quite, well, it's quite shallow. I think you can maybe kind of bring it in a little bit more. And then also the jaw. I think the jaw especially is kind of missing. It looks like it just kind of goes from the ear directly forward and then into the chin. I think you can bring the jaw back a little bit to kind of give this a little bit more weight, maybe. Right now it looks kind of like a crocodile mouth, a little bit, or like a lizard. Maybe that's what you wanted to go for. If that's the case, then this looks good. Um, and then you could kind of think about maybe how this how the body has been split apart. Has it been cut? Has it been ripped open? This would also sort of determine how the edge would look, how the sort of opening would look, the edges here. If you rip it apart, you would have a more rougher, like kind of wild or kind of scrambled edges. If it's like a cut, for example, it would probably be very clean, a very straight cut. If it's pretty clean and straight, this might work quite well. If it's more natural, then this might work as well. Yeah, I don't think this middle part is necessarily a problem. One thing that you could consider, as Passion said, is adding maybe some bones, because bones would cover all these organs, because otherwise, if there would be no, if there wouldn't, if there are no bones, then the organs are exposed, which squishy parts can break quite quickly if they hit something hard. So adding some bones would maybe be a good idea. Or yeah, if it's still supposed to be split open so you can see the organs, maybe just adding some, like, still indicating that there are bones is probably a good idea as well. Those are a few things, um yeah, that you could consider. The arm muscle, the upper arm muscle, then the line here for the pecs on the shoulders, as well as the edge here for the opening, as well as the landmarks of the face a little bit. Yeah, I think those are the big things that sort of jump out to me. If it comes to 3D printing, I think these small things right here, I think they're very hard to print. If you print it like as a whole, I don't know if you can print this as a whole. I think the printer would probably break. Not the printer, but the print would probably not work. You would probably have to separate this into multiple pieces, um, especially these individual small things right here, because they either otherwise would probably just create too much of an overhang, or the support needs, like, the support needs to be that much that it probably wouldn't look good at the end. Yeah, it's kind of yeah, I'm not an expert at 3D printing, but you know this is very hard to print like this. So either separating them so you can put them together at the end, or um maybe you could do it with tree support, but it's kind of hard. Yeah. Let's go to the next one, Teresa. Teresa did one, submitted one. Well, two, but let's say it's one, okay? Because it's basically one. Um, where is it? There it is. Yesterday I installed Blender and gave it a go for the first time. For now, the only user interface I kind of understand is the sculpting one. I just wanted to share and ask for opinions. I had first approached it in a meme way. Yeah, this is what everything looks like at some point. Okay, and then it becomes what you actually wanted to sculpt. And then this was your second try. Okay. I think I got the ears placements wrong. Okay, let's look at this one's a meme image, so that's why I didn't include it as an individual piece. But I think it looks pretty good. It captures the likeness of Squidward, I think, pretty well. So nice. This looks pretty good, actually. I like this. Let's go to the actual image, or the actual sculpt, which is this one. We have a video, which we can look at, and I think that's what I want to look at. Hold on. Smaller. Zip and mute. Okay. There you go. Can we actually slow this down? Oh, thank you for resetting all this. I appreciate it. Okay. So yeah, let's look at it. So front view first. Do we have a front view? Oh, this works. This is good enough. So I think you mentioned the ears. So let's look at those first. let's look at this image actually. So I think you're correct. The ear placement is a little bit off, but it's not too far, let's say. Generally speaking, the upper ending of the ear, let's look at a face to see it. Male face profile. Generally, handsome Squidward, exactly. Generally, the the ear ends. Dude, you're trolling. Ends where the eyelid is, right there, you know, rough in that area somewhere between the eye and the eyebrow, and the ending of the ear, maybe not necessarily including the earlobe, but where it connects into the face, like here, you know, right here. If you draw a line, you can see it ends where the nose ends. This is sort of the distance, or this is sort of the placement of the ear when it comes to the height and also how big it is, you know. So in this area is where you place it, and you know, basically how big you make it. When it comes to the horizontal placement, the ear is basically in the middle of the head. If you draw a line from here to maybe here, it is in the middle. Zip. It is also behind the jaw right here. So the jaw is somewhere over here, and there's a small hole behind the jaw. That is the ear hole basically, which means that the ear itself is behind the jaw, placed behind the ear, behind the jaw. So in the middle of the head, behind the jaw, in between the bottom of the nose and in this area here. Okay. Zip, zip. That's where you place the ear. Oh, let's go to the other parts. There it is. It looks pretty good already. One thing that I notice right now is the shape of the head. Generally speaking, heads are quite round. Sometimes they can be a little bit deformed, you know. But what I always like to say is that when you learn sculpting something, it is good to learn the norm first before you go into deviations. So you could argue that, well, press. Oh, really? Okay, interesting. You can argue that there are people that have deviations in the norm, you know, from the norm. But learning the norm is, I think, very important in the beginning, because by knowing what the norm is, you can include deviations, because then you know what deviations are. If you don't know that the nose is supposed to be in the middle of the face or ends in the middle of the face, then you don't know that you can also raise it higher or lower, and you don't know why it might look weird. Okay. So one thing that I would say here is that you can make the head a little bit rounder to, yeah, to kind of bring it a little bit closer to the norm. Another thing that kind of I kind of notice, or what it looks like, is that the lips right now look kind of like they're puckered. You know, like they're you want to kiss someone. Um, mm, Explaining lips is annoying. Um, Lips are quite round. They're like a U shape because they shape around the teeth. And if you look at teeth on a skull, they have a U shape. Um, Teeth. Movie? What? No. Can we see a top and bottom row? There it is. So teeth are two U shapes, or aligned in two U shapes. There you go. And lips form around this U shape, which creates the depth that they have. So if your lips look puckered or they look flat, that is oftentimes one of the problems that you can bring it back to. basically that the corner of the mouth is almost on the same level on this plane, you know, or on like if you look from the side, the corner of the mouth is on the same sort of height in this direction than the middle of the lip. A good rule for the placement of the corner of the mouth is, if we go back to our friend here, oftentimes it is in between the nostril and the eye in this area here. Sometimes you can see it's a little bit further forward, so you know, that could also be the case. But oftentimes what you see here, for example, is it is placed in between the nostril and the eye. Nostril and eye. Nostril and eye. um, and if you keep that in mind and keep the U shape for the lips in mind, I think you can add more depth to them. I think what can already help you here is just kind of pulling the corner of the mouth further forward. I mean, further into the face. I think that can already help you a lot. Yeah. The other thing might be the shape. Maybe you wanted to make a kissing like a puckered mouth, then you know, I think you did the job. You achieved what you wanted to do. But if you um if you wanted to do that, I think one thing to kind of maybe enhance that look would be to add some smaller folds, because if you pucker your lips, you would push the volumes together. You like your lips together, which would create some smaller folds. But those are just smaller details. Yeah. Um, I think overall the planes of the face look pretty good. I think it's supposed to be a female face, which is why, you know, the face overall looks quite smooth. You don't really have the fan pads might be a little bit bigger, so the features might be a little bit smoother, so that's okay. I see that you've included the fan pads underneath the eye and also maybe above the eye. I don't really see them there. I think the line, the crease above the eyelid, or the crease of the eyelid isn't really there. It could be no, actually, no, yeah, that would probably have to be there. If there's no crease, then you would have to close your eyes to remove that. Otherwise, you would have a crease right there. So that's one thing that you could probably add there. Yeah. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to actually be. Let's go through this and look at the side view real quick. Well, that's quite blurry. Well, we're not going to sculpt ourselves today, okay? But we will look at other people's sculpt and give feedback on them. So no sculpt today. Oh, there he is. There we can actually see the lips a little bit more. Yeah, we won't sculpt. I won't sculpt myself, but we're looking at other people's sculpt or characters or whatever they did. Yeah. So oftentimes why lips look puckered is because, first of all, the corner of the mouth, the two corners are closer in the middle. They're being pulled together. And also the corner of the mouth is being pushed forward like this. First of all, welcome, Christian. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Yeah, that's another thing. So push forward and also push together. If you want to adjust that, you can, you know what? There you go. Where's my screenshot? Why didn't it show it? Okay, it just doesn't tell me. Interesting. There it is. Quick adjustment here. Hello, Mr. Demon. Or Mrs. Demon. Nobody knows. Okay. I think it was a dude. Hello? Can you please do what I say? Okay. So if we were to do this, if we were to adjust this, what you could do is, oh, another thing, the nostril is further back than the ending of the nose. Right now it's quite on the same plane. Generally the nostril is a little bit longer. We can adjust that here as well. I was practicing, but instead of making an elf, my mesh turned into William Defoe. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Just say that it was intended. You can, for example, bring the nose forward or just the nostril backwards. There you go. Thank you, phone. And then you can also bring the corner of the mouth a little bit further back. There you go. Looks kind of like smiling, smirking. Okay. There you go. Which brings it a little bit more into this neutral shape. So we go from this. No, we get here from this. This looks more puckered. Ooh. And this one looks more neutral. Because we changed the bridge here. We brought this a little bit further forward. And we also brought the nostril a little bit further back. And we especially brought the corner of the mouth further back, in between the eye and the nostril. And then we also brought the lips overall a little bit further back. There you go. And that's how you can bring this to a more neutral look. There you go. Yeah. Okay. On to the last one. There's one more that we haven't done. So let's get to it. Why is the music non-existent? Have we gone through all of them? We have. Time to view more. Small trains. There you go. Let's go to the next one. The next one is by Crow's Tea, if I remember correctly. He posted his or they posted their piece again, which is this one. We looked at this one last time we did, or in the last feedback session. There we talked about the eyes, and they gave us a reference what they wanted to do, which is this chibi anime character. And Hustler gave some feedback already, which I don't want to miss. You can try to bring the chin a little bit down, make the, wait, let me put it here. There you go. You can try to bring the chin a little bit down and make the other eyes for her. A lot of the anime chibi characters I see don't have round eyeballs. They mostly use a curved plane or something more like an oval. And yeah, I agree. Oftentimes what you can see for anime figurines is that they have flat eyes, and it's a weird head shape, to be honest, okay? Let me see if I can find it. I think the best example would be Pablo Barrow. Does he have an art station? There it is. He makes these characters quite often. So if you look at these ones, especially this one especially, you can see it. This one's, I think, Genshin Impact characters. And if you look at the side view of the face, you can see what we mean. From the front, it looks pretty normal, you know. Look at this. Looks like a face, you know. Maybe the nose is a little bit pointy, okay. But if you look at the side view, I don't know if we can actually, yeah, we probably have to look at the video. What we see is, if you look at, look at this. The eyes are, like, the face is very flat so that the eyes have enough room to, I guess, look like this. And I guess they're only really planes instead of spheres. I think creating anime eyes like this isn't possible with with spheres. So you would go with curved planes. I think that would be the biggest improvement that you can do here to get it closer to this. To this. Yeah, adding planes instead of spheres, which is what Hustler already did. He added planes instead of, yeah, he also changed the eyes a little bit. Also change the mouth a little bit. Change it from this more cat-like look to a more, brought it more in line with the reference, which is like this sort of bean shape, as you can see here for the mouth. And then the head change a little bit. You probably don't need to push the forehead forward. You can probably actually push it backwards, maybe even. Let's actually take this. Wait, did you include a file? I think you did, right? I don't think we have enough time really to go too much into in depth here, unfortunately, but yeah, today's a no Blender feedback session, but yeah, let's just take this. Oh, you can actually save it? Interesting. There it is. So many clicks. And if we go in here, we put it in there. Look at it. Then we can do this. So I think what you can do here is you can bring this a little bit back. Okay. Then maybe even bring the nose a little bit further forward. Maybe even bring this curve a little bit, just a little bit further back. There you go. Not a huge change what I just did, but... Oh, wait, this is the before, right? This is the after? Maybe. No, well, there's two versions. I guess we can see the mouth is still different here, or the original there. I don't really know what they do with the neck here, what he does with the neck. You don't really see it in here, but so it's kind of hard to see. Okay, so it just goes from thin to very wide. um, which is basically what you have here, so that's okay. Yeah, I think overall maybe the face actually needs to be a little bit, yes, like this a little bit more, a little bit flatter to give the eyes enough room to really look like this, you know. Yeah, so the biggest takeaway I think are the eyes. If you improve the eyes, I think it'll look way better. Basically by yeah, by changing them from planes into I mean from a sphere to a plane. You could maybe even just take the sphere and just, you know, scale it so that it is flat instead of a round sphere, you know? A round ball, I guess you could say. That could also work. I think that's the biggest difference for the face. And then also just flattening the face a little bit to yeah, shape the face around the eyeballs. And then I think the mouth can also change to make it, yeah, look a little bit more like a bean, like a triangle, instead of a cat mouth. Maybe you wanted to do a cat mouth, but if you want to go with this reference, you would have to do this, you know, whatever orange shape, you know, orange piece shape, whatever. Yeah. So yeah. Uh, I think the body is pretty good. I don't think the body needs to change that much. I think it's more, yeah, I think the biggest difference that you can make here, the biggest improvement that you can make are the eyes. So yeah, that's the one thing that I would probably focus on. The rest is pretty good. Yeah. I don't really know. I don't really have more than this. I think Hasa did a pretty good job already, kind of giving you good feedback, and then yeah, yeah, you know, I think this one's pretty good to kind of reference. Okay, yep, there it is. This already looks way better. Look at this. Looks way better. Um, I don't know if you've already flattened the eyes, but I think that's one more thing that you could do. Flattening the eyes and then bringing the space around the eyes further forward to kind of, you know, walk around the eyes. Yeah, but this looks already way better. So yeah, nice. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I think this actually concludes today's feedback session. Maybe just quickly look at the actually look at the message real quick and see if there's oh, hello. Oh, you can actually see it. Wait, what? You can see it now. Interesting. Let me go in here real quick. Okay, yeah. What is that? Okay. No important messages here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that would conclude today's feedback session. Hope this hope the feedback was helpful. Thank you for submitting. Thank you for submitting your pieces. A few things to look forward to, as I said in my YouTube post. That a new video, maybe tomorrow, probably on Monday. With a giveaway, which is going to be very exciting. And then a new character in my Gumroad page that you can download for free. That's the next one. So yeah. That was those are the next two things to look forward to. So and stream, let's see. Yeah, I haven't planned a stream yet. I have a new project that I want to work on, but I'll see how I want to stream it, you know. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, we'll drop another one instead of Orc Slayer for next time. Oh, okay, nice. I'm excited. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, as Lego Robot said, I think these characters, for example, look very good now. You know, they look very nice. The for this one, I think the biggest difference right here is maybe the orc head. This one I think it still has symmetry on, maybe. This one is very, very deformed. You know, the face looks very different compared to this one. But yeah, that's maybe one thing you could look at. But overall, I think yeah, Lego is pretty is correct. It looks very nice. Yep. Okay. This will conclude today's